My name is Jim Morris, and I'll be leading you through the session today. My background is in product and engineering, and I've been a part of several exciting startups and a couple that weren't so exciting. These days, I coach product organizations and product management teams to really make amazing customer experiences through having great discovery. So let's get started. We're talking about decision making because it's one of the most perilous concepts at my companies and with my teams. Because as a product manager, as a product team, as a designer, um, you have great responsibility, but you have very little power, right? And so this session is all about leading with context. And if you can create that context with the team, you can improve morale and you can have a chance to make your case. And that's not just solution versus solution, but really about problems and metrics, talking about your user, telling a story. So the concepts we'll talk about today will help you tell that story and help you make better decisions that are more customer focused, rather than that hippo that walks in the room and says, well, do this. Okay, so let's get started. The components of this process are identifying a target customer in a market, writing a problem statement, short, to the point, that is from that customer's point of view. Then we'll start thinking about success and how can we count that success numerically. The starting point are these baseline metrics, key performance indicators, things that we can count and analyze the system to tell us. Once we have a good sense of these, we can pick one or two and turn them into key results, where we're looking for that improvement over time. So what if we make that success metric? What if we achieve it? What does that do for the business? What is the aspirational goal for the business? All right, so we're gonna have that objective, that key result. We'll talk about that target customer. We'll talk about their problem. We'll layer on some real world constraints so that sometimes teams really have to abide by a couple constraints that their business has set for them. And we put this together into an opportunity assessment. You may be responsible for creating a lean canvas, a one-pager, one of those 6-page narratives. You could think of this as an input to those. You need to have these items in order to really understand the context, to lead with context, to help create better decision making. So let's get started. Got an example here. Should be pretty approachable for everybody. Think about that time when the Uber car arrives and when the passenger, how much time does it take for the passenger to get to the curb? These companies have been spending about 10 years to really get you from your house to the curb. So passengers not coming to the curb. So what is a good sort of target customer description? Well, you have the team swarm in the Miro board onto this panel, and you have them type in their own suggestions, right? So driver, new driver, experienced driver, passenger. In a marketplace, well, who are you talking about? Super important. We don't actually drive to consensus at this moment. We're going to continue on, okay? It's a little counterintuitive, but it helps the brainstorming process to spend about 3 minutes per panel and then to come back. So here, we'll start brainstorming problems. And the teams aren't necessarily perfect at writing the problems from that point of view of the target customer. So I try to get them to say, well, use the I statement. I'm waiting too long. I can't find the passenger, things like that. But again, don't drive to consensus yet, okay? Let's think about things that we can count in the system that might lead us to understand what's going on. Complaints, NPS, minutes waiting, number of rides in a day. And then we can work with the team to sort of start creating some of these composite key results, these goals you're going to achieve, reducing complaints, reducing wait time, increasing satisfaction, things like that. Well, so what? Well, maybe we're going to increase the efficiency of driver times, reduce emissions, get more rides, okay? So this leveling up helps you tell that story, okay? When you tell that story, you provide that context. And then of course we have constraints. We don't want to necessarily reveal actual phone numbers, things like that. So at this point, you spent 3 minutes a panel, you've been brainstorming these concepts, mobbing on these different panels. Now you're going to go back and use that voting mechanism where it provides an anonymity for people to cleanly vote for this problem, that customer. And each person is going to be making that story in their head. And sometimes I have each person make their own opportunity assessment, and then we talk about them as a team. Here, I'll just show you a composite one where we've chosen the driver's particular problem, the goal for the company, and then what are we going to count these minutes? And then we're going to make that goal of maybe the current baseline is 5 minutes, and we want to reduce it to 3 minutes. And we have the constraint about the phone number. At this point, as a product team, it's a good idea to shop this around internally to some subject matter experts to see if you're on track, right? So I might pick 1, 2, or 3 experts to talk to, and you can kind of put their names here in this panel. And this becomes a working document. You talk to your boss, to the other stakeholders. You change this over time. You might add another key result, maybe a problem statement or two as like kind of similar type activities. The goal is telling the story, leading with context, not always talking about solutions. If you can get your product leaders and other folks to get onto what is the problem, what is that key metric, gives you the team that ability to make decisions that are customer focused. You're closest to the customer, and you want to keep that focus and keep it away from other internal goals. So it's your job to balance and intertwine the customer needs and the business needs. I hope this has been helpful. If you zoom out on this board, you can see that there's an example section for you that you can come in, copy and paste. It's got all the stickies ready for you to come in and make your own exercise with this. There's one for B2B to C when it gets a little bit more complicated. I've got a list of instructions here. In fact, I've got a bunch of slideware underneath for creating all those elements. And you can get it at this URL. So I'm Jim Morris. Thank you so much. Have a great conference.